Lightning like Steve Queen, I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit, cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly, better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder, and I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines, and most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice-a-week long-form podcast, because I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. What is up, everybody? Happy Tuesday coming in. Micah Campo. Micah, great to see you coming in over on YouTube. Good morning to you. Tracy St. Clair, she's also coming in on YouTube as well. And yeah, you guys, I got a guest that I'm going to bring on here in a second. We got some pretty exciting stuff we're going to talk about today. And then we got a couple of articles to break down. And yeah, I think with that, Bill McIntyre, my man, good morning to you, coming in over on YouTube as well. I'm going to bring him up right now, you guys, because I enjoy having him on. And I literally see him more on my live show than in real life. Yeah, at the end of the day, my man Kyle Provo is back on with Broker Carrier. Kyle, what is up?
Good morning, buddy. How are you?
Dude, I'm doing well. I'm pumped that you're coming to Phoenix for the TIA event, man. I'm super pumped you're coming down for this.
So am I, man. I've really taken my sweet time getting around to going to these freight conferences, but it's time to get out there and mingle and meet everybody, be a real part of the industry, and I'm pumped. And I haven't been to Phoenix in like 8 years, so it's just going to be a great time. Can't wait to see you.
Dude, I know. You're on my turf now. No, I'm just playing. But no, it's going to be good to get out there, because the TIA has their Capital Ideas Conference here in Phoenix in April. And Kyle's coming down to that. I'm going to be, I don't know if I can mention anything further than that is I will be there. But, I'm always excited to get out there and kind of get a pulse for what other people are seeing. I'm very fortunate of keeping my pulse on the industry and speaking with everybody that I get to speak to on a daily basis and interview for my show and kind of really get a feel for where things are going. But there's just something about that conference, man, that I love being a part of it. I love being around other freight brokers, and I'm a massive fan of the TIA. They do phenomenal work for freight brokers out there. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So am I. And the value of actually meeting people in person and hearing real stories and real daily anecdotes. 5 minutes of that is better than 10 days of online research.
Yeah.
You can do all the independent research you want and extensively look into an industry and really find out what the general issues that tend to be faced in that industry are. But if you want to know for sure how you can really help solve the business specific, workflow specific problems, you've got to hear it from someone who deals with it in their day-to-day life. And then there's no better environment for that than a conference where everybody's there to talk shop.
Dude, and that's exactly it, right? I think getting out there and getting involved in it, and then just from a networking perspective too, and because whether you've started a company, a brokerage or a tech company or whatever it is, getting out there and networking with other business owners, I think most people would be pleasantly surprised how many individuals are willing to help if you're willing to ask. And I think that's one thing that I never really thought of kind of growing up was the networking aspect of things, right? Because it's talk about a great way of getting to know people. And then again, hey, I have a problem with this. Perfect. I know a guy or I know a girl. I'm going to introduce you to them. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, sure is. And it's the funniest thing, if you just talk to people and tell them what you need, you'd be amazed at how much help there is just out there ready.
Dude, amen. James Courier, what is up? Good morning on YouTube. Thomas Weirden, morning freight friends. Tony Darnell and Sonny Sharma are also tuning in over on LinkedIn. Their comments aren't coming through on the stream here, but I got a notification that they did. Jamie says, morning all, that this show makes my day better. Hey, I appreciate that, Jamie. Thank you so much. And Corey Buchan, good morning to you over on YouTube. So one of the main reasons why I brought Kyle on, I need him to get out and be more and more present because he knows more. He's forgotten more about tech than most people will ever be able to talk about. But, you know, we got this new release out with Broker Carrier, and, you know, him and I, and this was his idea. We wanted to do more, right? Because like, there's a lot of people out there, and Kyle and I have, you know, Kyle's bootstrap businesses. We're bootstrapping Broker Carrier. I've bootstrapped businesses, and we know how important it is to be able to bring the best product out there for people. And then especially right now with everything with fraud and identity and everything kind of being pushed, there's a lot of people whose businesses are kind of at risk and they don't know where to start, right? Because it's like, it's expensive to pay for stuff, right? At the end of the day, I talk about this all the time because, you know, like with the lead generation thing, I'm like, hey, how do I get customers? I'm like, Google and an Excel spreadsheet. That's all you need. You don't need lead generation software if you can't afford it. So we took that and we're going to run with it. And I'll let you talk because otherwise I can ramble.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so kind of the genesis of what we were doing today really has come from people that we've been doing demos with. You know, for about 6 months now, it seems that at least 1 out of every 3 people we give a demo for says that they're concerned about costs, right? They already use another onboarding provider, or they already use another carrier vetting service, and they just can't afford it anymore. So that's what keeps bringing people to us, is they see that we have a package that's only $79 a month, and they really want to find out if that's going to cut the mustard for their business. And it in almost every case, it turns out it will. But then we started looking into the vetting and screening portion of it, where really all you're doing is giving an examination to publicly available data, making determinations from it, matching it up with you know, historical changes in those data sets, and you very quickly develop a pretty clear picture of who you're dealing with on the other side of that transaction. And the more we thought about it, we realized there's a strong opportunity there to actually do the industry a big favor. So what we're going to launch later today is right on our public website, and we'll put an announcement on our LinkedIn page with a link that shows you exactly how to get there. But we're going to release a sort of diet version of our research and vetting tool that exists within our dashboard. So, you know, paid members on Broker Carrier have access to an extremely detailed, extremely sort of excoriating tool that runs the carrier through every sort of detail match, every suspect attribute match. I mean, it really just runs them through the ringer and tells you everything you could possibly know about them based on data that we've both collected and observed through their activities. Now, we're going to take a lighter version of that and just put it out there publicly on the website. You know, if you need to do a quick sanity check on an email address or a mailing address, if you want to find out if more than one carrier has been registered at the same place, there's no reason for something that simple to sit behind a paywall, right? So we're just going to put it out there and let everybody use it and create some real value for this industry.
So what you're saying is you can do a simple search on people for free. You don't have to be a paid member of our stuff for that. And it gives people an opportunity to kind of get a peek, right? Like here's some basic information for people to kind of verify who they actually are. And then obviously with a subscription, you know, like if you're a member or a client of ours, you get a very in-depth portion of this. But for those individuals who are out there who are just like, something just feels off, right? They can just plug in, was it their MC or their DOT number? And you can just pull up just a little information snippet from them, right?
Yeah. So on the free tool, the search types are going to be DOT number, docket number or MC number, email address, phone number, physical address, mailing address, EIN, VIN, or zip code.
Yeah.
Now there's 5 more in the paid tool that, you know, you can compare by lane. You can dig into histories a little bit more that way.
Yeah.
Cargo types, and of course, insurance information has to remain behind the paywall because the carrier conducting the onboarding process is how we get their consent to show you their payment and insurance information, right? So certain things can't just be made freely public like that. But the one limitation we're going to put on it is that we're going to use our cached data, which sometimes can be potentially up to 10 days old, which
Yeah.
the kind of the dark secret of all this is that 10-day-old data is perfectly fine 99% of the time, right? But if you're actually going to send freight with that carrier, then you need to use real-time data and make absolutely sure. And given how much compute cost is involved with real-time data, that's going to remain behind the paywall. You know, we can't give away the whole story. But if you just need to plug in an email address and make sure that it actually is on file with the DOT number or the business entity that you got it from, or you need to put in a business name is the other one. That's what I was thinking of. You know, if you have an MC number and a combination of an MC number and a business name and an email address, and you come run all three of those items of information in our tool, you can see if that's really what's on file with the DOT or not. You know, if you take a physical address and run it through this tool, you'll be able to see if there's multiple carriers registered there. Same thing for a mailing address. If you have a VIN you want to look up, you can see every carrier that's been inspected or had a crash in that VIN in the last 5 years. You know, so just real basic stuff to give you a quick sanity check. But if you really are considering sending freight with that carrier, then you need to get a tiny bit more in depth. Yeah.
No, for sure. I mean, everything that you're listing right there, though, is kind of like, for my old school way of doing things, I'm like, a lot of that sounds pretty damn all right. You know, like, hey, they got all that stuff checks out. And, you know, but like, I think what excites me the most about this is obviously, you know, our capacity optimization tool is really like, that's the word that just kind of comes to my mind about it, because, you know, when it comes down to getting the right carriers on the right freight, load notifications, all of that stuff going out to make it essentially a brain trust for a brokerage operation, with something like this too on top of it, right? Like, how many carriers, this is where my mind goes. How many carriers out there are booking loads and they're like, something about that seems wrong. Like, it seems like a double broker, right? And then I just feel like you should always verify who you're working with, right? Like, this is what it always comes down to with me is we should always verify who we're working with no matter what. And if something seems off, it probably is, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah, your gut's never wrong. You know, it truly isn't. I wish everybody could find their center of zen and learn how to trust their gut every time, because it'll save you millions throughout your career. But you're right. And a key aspect of what I want to address here is, with the tool being public on the outside or just out there on the website, carriers can use it too. You can look up brokers. Right, brokers normally don't participate in the DOT census, but their data is in that system and it's findable. And we've crawled all of it a dozen times. You know, there are 29,852 active broker authorities in our database. That information. Now that doesn't mean that they're all actively in business. That's something they're out there, right? So that information is available for carriers too. And we always put so much emphasis on the broker side. Right. We want to prevent a broker from accidentally sending a load with a double broker thinking that they've booked a carrier. But we need to look at the other side too. We want to help carriers not take loads from double brokers, because they're not going to get paid. Right. They're the ones who really get hurt. And so that was also a motivating factor to just put this tool out there and make it available for the industry.
No, and I think, like, because, you know, obviously Kyle knows a lot more of the technical side of all of this crap. I know freight, right? You guys, at the end of the day, I slang freight, and that's what I know. Kyle knows how to build all of this stuff out. And, you know, when we were going through a lot of this, Kyle kept bringing this up, where he's like, this isn't as complex as some people are making it out to be, right? Like, all of this data is public. Literally everything out there is, right? If you're going to go onto the FMCSA, it's all public, right? It's all public information.
Well,
and
it's the law. I mean, it's the Open Government Something or Other Act. The government established a website called data.gov, where you can go on there and search for anything from NOAA weather reports to NASA unclassified launch schedules to FMCSA information. It's all there. You just need some fastidious geek like me to comb through it for you and make conclusions from it, you know?
Yeah, I agree with the last part about making conclusions. I'm not going to call you a geek per se, but you definitely know your shit when it comes down.
It's a term of endearment. There's a simple rule to this. If you can't do calculus, you're not a geek, just a dork, right? But your business partner here is definitely a geek.
What if you can't do algebra? What does that make you?
Probably cool.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm cool because I fucking can barely do algebra at the end of the day, right? And hey, I'm going to be honest, Kyle. To this day, I have yet to have a transaction that has the letter A or D in how I quote it out and how I solve for that. So fuck off, algebra. That's what I'm going to say about that. Oh, man.
You don't need it. Keep it out of your life.
Exactly. Sonny Sharma, we appreciate you, man. He's saying we are loving the new update of Broker Carrier. And Sonny, we're working on that integration, man. I'm going to pull all strings possible to get that done for you with your TMS, okay? We are going to make that happen. And speaking of integrations, anybody out there who's listening to this, we got a couple of calls set up for it, but if you would, we would love to talk to you about integrating with your platform out there. And, you know, because Kyle, our API connectivity is fully functional, ready to go. Everything's good to go on that end. So,
yeah, we're right now the version 3 API that has existed for about 18 months is currently out there, and that's our integration with freight management systems with Henry Sheldon and his crew is on the V3 API. But we are going to release a V4 API here in the next few weeks. It's going to expand on some capabilities. Like you'll be able to just pull a full carrier vetting report with all the, you know, suspect items, pros and cons list, all that stuff that you would log into your dashboard to see now. We're going to add that capabilities to be able to just do that directly in your TMS also. So I think TMS providers are really gonna like it. Of course, the customers are really gonna like it. I mean, the fewer clicks, the better, you know.
So with that being said, obviously that's very exciting news. Kyle came on here as well to break down some articles. Kyle and I could talk about carrier identity and putting a quality product out there all the time, but we also like to talk shit a little bit too. And that's what we're going to do today, because I got an article that was from ttnews.com. And with that, you guys, all the links to the articles that we break down will be up on the Freight Coach YouTube channel, as well as the Coffee with the Freight Coach audio only replay. I think this is a very, very good sign. This article, ttnews.com, Walmart posts strong Q4 and weakens the forecast on less spending. I pay attention to the Walmarts of the world because, I mean, I just got done reading Made in America, Sam Walton's memoir on creating Walmart. And if you're in business, I would highly recommend reading that book. It is a great read. But obviously Walmart is, I'm pretty sure are they the largest retailer in the world or just in the United States?
I think they're the largest retailer in the world.
Yeah.
There's one based in India that's pretty huge, but I don't think they're close. No.
Okay. But, you know, so it's like Walmart, and it goes into this article, Walmart reported another quarter of stellar results, ending the year on a high note. But shoppers are spending less per trip as prices are abating and the company's forecast is below Wall Street expectations. Shares still rose 3% before the opening bell on February 20th. Walmart also confirmed just a small purchase of $2.3 billion for TV maker Vizio. They're going to be doing that. And shoppers have remained resilient, propped up by strong labor market and steady wages. But Americans pulled back on spending in January after the holiday season splurge, which I think is pretty much, case in point for every single year. January always sucks from a spending perspective. But, Walmart, based in Bentonville, is among the first batch of U.S. retailers to report these quarterly results. Industry analysts are dissecting the data, seeking to shed more light on how consumers are feeling. Walmart has used its clout to work with suppliers to manage inflation. But while prices for some groceries, such as dairy, chicken, and seafood, are falling, Walmart CEO Doug McMillon told analysts in November that he would like to see that happening in the dry grocery category as well. And Walmart ranks number 2 on the private carrier list, which earned $5.49 billion or $2.03 a share that ended in January 31st. And that compares with $6.27 billion or $2.32 a share in the year ago out there. And then analysts were expecting $1.64 on share on sales of $170 billion out there. So when you see a company like Walmart out there, yes, they track everything, and then the cost per transaction has decreased, but you see their overall stuff is up. What does that tell you?
All right. So, I've been a stock market nerd for many, many years, and Walmart earnings are always a slightly tricky one because Walmart sells everything. Their sort of an index fund unto themselves, right? So their earnings is the canary in the coal mine for shifting economic conditions, right? So when you see Walmart earnings go up, this is not necessarily a good sign for the economy, right? Because that means that people are staying out of the restaurants, they're knocking off the door dashing, they're not going to Starbucks so much, they're not shopping at Target. Well, some people always will, right? But when people reduce their personal household spending, what remains of that spending tends to go to Walmart, right? Yeah. So Walmart's earnings being good is not necessarily a good sign for the economy. Now, I'm not worried. I don't think we're right on the precipice of a big crash here. And especially when you look at them making this strategic acquisition of Vizio, right, which I thought was owned by Costco, but if they're purchasing that sort of operation, that means they think they're going to be selling a lot of electronics. Of course, they have the inside track on any other exciting electronics that might be coming out. If there's a new video game console, for example, Walmart would know about that before anybody else, really. So, I mean, I like to see it. It's not year over year growth; it's quarter over quarter growth. But the real issue is that per household credit card debt being at record highs, right? So that's why people would be shopping at Walmart and not running up the card so much each time they go, right? It's not that they're buying less or that they need less; it's that they're buying the cheaper versions of things, right?
Yeah, and and this is just me working in trucking, literally been around it my entire life, but actually worked in the industry. It was funny. I remember a long time ago, I was scheduling a load of butter out of a certain California facility. I will remain anonymous on which one it was, but I was calling and I was like, hey, I'm here to schedule this pickup. Here's the PO number. And they're like, is this that great value load? And I'm like, no, it's for this one. They're like, oh, funny. It's the exact same product, just different labeling, just so you're aware. That guy literally confirmed it to me at a co-packer. It's the great value has the exact same butter. This was a couple of years ago, like a long time ago. So I can't prove this anymore. But anybody who's been around trucking for long enough knows that most store brands like Great Value and Kirkland and everything else are the exact same stuff as the high-end brands. Like Kirkland vodka is Grey Goose vodka. Kirkland whiskey is Crown Royal. It's a very not well-kept secret at this point, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, some people think like, I always buy the off-brand when I go shopping because I fucking know it's the exact same product. And I'm like, I would argue, Kyle, unless you're from the state of Wisconsin, if you put a block of cheese from Great Value and another brand, you couldn't tell the difference. But if you're from Wisconsin, you definitely can tell the difference. But outside of that, you can't. So it's like, I don't see why people don't do that more often.
I don't either. I mean, house brands were created for a reason.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily lower quality merch. They just, it's a licensing deal instead of a co-marketing deal.
Yeah.
I think it's a great way to go. I mean, you should never shy away from that. It's not like there could be some kind of significantly lower quality version of pickles, right?
Yeah.
It's silly.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there's some great value cheese in my fridge right now, man.
Hell yeah. I love it. Unless it's Doritos. Don't buy Doritos are like the eighth wonder of the world, man. They might be the greatest thing ever invented out there. But, back to the article, I think that it is one of those things that you do want to pay attention to that, because I talked about this last year at some point, about from a business development standpoint, when we go into a tough economy and when people shift their spending patterns and inevitably from buying a new TV and new outdoor furniture, what are the things that people are never going to stop purchasing? And, I look at the household goods like the Cloroxes of the world and, like the shampoos. And I would hope people buy shampoo and deodorant no matter what. But those things, like, that's where I would want to go after from a business development standpoint, because people are realistically going to be buying that, right? They're going to shy away from some of the, expenditures that are out there that are more discretionary from that standpoint. So it's like from a business development standpoint, when I see a Walmart posting strong earnings, I know that people are still at least spending money on stuff. And if I'm going from a business development standpoint, this packaging, consumer goods, CPG products. That is where, if I was starting over, that is where I would want to build my book of business off of, because I don't ever want to say anything's recession proof per se, but there are some specific commodities out there that people will buy no matter what.
Yeah. And a lot, you don't have a choice. I agree with that completely. Yeah.
That article, ttnews.com, is Walmart posts strong Q4 and weakens forecast on less spending. And this article, the next one we were going to talk about here is, I don't know if we're gonna have enough time to finish it, but it was talking about the M&A activity out there and how, for some reason this isn't gonna. What are your thoughts on that, right? Because I think that realistically, people are gonna buy, like, somebody's making money right now, right? It might not be the frontline individual out there, but there are people out there who make money when the economy's shit and everything else, and they're going to leverage that to expand their footprint. So where do you see? Because again, Kyle's not like, we're not a stock market experts or anything like that, but Kyle trades, and you're out there and you see that stuff. So like, when you're looking out there, man, where do you see? Do you see M&A activity actually improving throughout the year this year, or do you see it as going to kind of taper?
There's going to be a lot of it going on in the tech field, tech industry.
Okay.
But in the economy in general, I don't know. I mean, Walmart picking up Vizio is a pretty obvious move. I think we're going to see a lot of consolidation where startups get absorbed into established larger companies in the tech industry. One that I've kind of kept my eye on is OpenAI, the makers of ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And you have them and companies like them who are bringing really wild high-tech ideas to the industry, but very few of them are going to be able to establish themselves as stable, self-running companies. So they're going to get gobbled up quick. I don't think OpenAI is going to be their own company for very long, right? Microsoft is already their biggest investor with a $10 billion investment. And at some point, they're going to be their outright owner, right? And when tech starts consolidating and the share prices of tech companies start flying, the whole stock market starts flying. And that tends to have a trickle-down effect of euphoria where people think the economy is great, and then the spending goes nuts again. And then M&A slows down because everybody's making money, right? So I think if we do have a recession, or if the news starts saying that we're having a recession, it's not going to be long. And people are going to go through a very quick period of reducing spending and reducing activity. We'll see some consolidation among companies that haven't been around very long. And then it'll all just bounce back, and everybody will get right back to their lives, right? Everybody is still so scarred from COVID that nobody wants to put up with a lack of spending and a lack of activity for very long,
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, right? Like I'm kind of impartial on that stance. I think that, like, again, it's more along the lines of, if there's a deal to be had out there, people are not, like, the right people are not going to be afraid to spend money in any economy or anything like that. It's just not going to be as rampant as it was. And, because it said 2023 was, weak from an M&A standpoint. And I wouldn't be surprised that if it doesn't stay that way until there is a full-fledged freight market recovery, which, again, I don't think that there's going to be a cataclysmic rise out there. I truly feel like it's going to be a slow and steady rebound that's going to happen throughout this year. But I already see, and again, this is just from somebody who actually moves freight, I'm seeing rates up. All right. That's all I can say from the freight that I move and the freight that I'm quoting and getting quoted on. I'm seeing rates improving, but that's just me. But hey, Kyle, so this afternoon, when should people start paying attention to the announcement from Broker Carrier that they can get on there and access our free tool?
All right. Well, all times, it's 9 a.m. Pacific time. So I would say about 1 p.m. Pacific time, start checking it out. But we're gonna put an announcement on our LinkedIn page. So if you follow that, it'll be there. And we'll have a link of how to find the tool, how to get into it, and you can just start using it. Go to town.
Perfect.
You don't have to register or anything. You just go find it.
Yeah, you don't need to register. It's brokercarrier.com. If you go to LinkedIn, follow Broker Carrier. You will see an announcement out there for a free tool that's going to be released this afternoon. Kyle's on Pacific time, all right? So it might be a couple hours behind us normal folks out here in the rest of the world, but Kyle's on Pacific time. Okay. So that will be it though for today, you guys. As always, if you guys got value in what you heard, subscribe to the show, share it out there to your network. This is how we grow, but most importantly, this is how we help more people, is because if you saw value, your network's going to see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.